A creator named Brittany Hall recently posted a TikTok talking about how good men lose good women. She basically described the current dynamic of my relationship, and I don't know what to do with it. I can't get it out of my head. I've talked openly on my page about how my husband and I are currently in a valley in our marriage. We are trying to decide, where do we go from here? We have been together for over 17 years and married for over 13. We got married as babies. We were just 22 years old. And I know a lot of people, especially now in this day and age, are saying you should not be getting married before 26 or 30. So when I say 22, their gasps are flabbered. But we felt like we knew what we were doing. We were willing to take that leap of faith. We understood that we would probably have more challenges than most simply because we chose to get married so young. There was so many future versions of ourselves that we're going to have to grow and learn and mature. And we were okay with jumping in and taking that risk and vowing to be there for each other through all of those things. However, what we didn't know then that we do know now is that I'm an anxious attachment, he's an avoidant, and apparently those relationships are typically destined to fail. That is, if they don't do the work. Which leads me to Brittany's video. She talks about how good men lose good women simply because they are living in the gap. What is the gap, you might ask? Well, she goes on to define it as that space between intentionality and action and the space between acknowledgement and accountability. You have this good man who means well, but he doesn't move well. He talks about wanting things and wanting this and that for your life, but he doesn't actually show up in the ways that are necessary for you to do those things. He sees his patterns, but he refuses to change them. This essentially summarizes every single conversation I have ever had with my husband. But I will take what she said one step further. It's not just about that he doesn't move well or show up or that he has patterns that he doesn't change. For our dynamic specifically, it's not totally that there's a gap between those things and how he shows up for others. It's also about that gap in how he shows up for himself. He doesn't believe in himself, and it shows. And it doesn't matter that I've spent almost 2 decades pouring into him and telling him that he can be and do whatever he wants to be. And I will stand by his side through the ups and the downs. Because he is not willing to do the work to change his patterns, he cannot believe what I am saying. They are constantly putting it back on the woman. Oh, your man can't be great because you're being too stern. You're being too rough. You won't speak to him gently enough. You're not being feminine enough. You want to put it back on us. But the reality is, what if you do have a woman who's doing that? What if she is doing that? Right? A farmer can sow seeds all day long, but like the Bible says, if it falls on rocky ground, if it falls on shallow soil, if it falls where the weeds can choke it out, or where the birds can come in and eat it, what does it matter? What does it matter if she's speaking the things and doing the things and showing up for you in all of the ways if it's not landing on proper soil? If you won't do the work. One of the things women talk about a lot, and there's even a lot of discourse around it on TikTok, is do not marry a man for his potential. I'm a millennial. And I'm a woman of color. When I was growing up, we were taught that if you do find a good man and you see his potential, then pour into him. We are taught to see the best in our future partners and then see if they have the capability of becoming who we believe they can be. But Gen Z is clocking that. They've seen their Gen X and millennial parents and grandparents, the women in their family, marry these men for their potential, and then that potential never manifests. And so now the message is, do not marry a man for his potential. Make sure that he already has his bag up. Make sure that he already has everything in order. Make sure that you can essentially step into his life already knowing that you're going to be fully taken care of. That just wasn't the conversation when I was coming up. And because that was my programming, it was something that I was completely fine with. What I didn't anticipate was that when I got older and I would be thrust into this situation of having to do a lot of healing work to overcome a lot of trauma that I didn't even realize I had at the time, it would become extremely important to me that I would have a partner who would also be willing to do the work to make themselves better. Both of us were abandoned by our biological fathers, and that was actually one of the things we bonded over when we were dating. We wanted to ensure that we were with somebody who was only bound to us, who was loyal to us, who wanted the same thing we wanted, which was a complete nuclear family, not a whole bunch of kids everywhere else, because we both have siblings from our other parents out there in the world that we don't even completely have a relationship with. I told my husband, I am not expecting you to do your healing work at the same time that I'm doing mine. But we do see some areas that could use some work, some improvement that are preventing you from connecting in this relationship. And so all I need to know is that you will eventually do the work. And I was told no. I was told no. So what do you do at that point? When this person that you love, that you know loves you, has been very clear with you that they understand what you're saying. They're acknowledging that you're saying there's a problem, but they refuse to do the action that would help close that gap. When they acknowledge that, yeah, I have some things wrong with me, I'm never going to change them. That prevents them from ever reaching a level of accountability that makes that woman feel safe in that relationship. I'm not only seeing those patterns in our relationship and how he shows up for me emotionally, because he shows up for me every other way, financially, physically, mentally. He shows up for me in every way you could think of. This man is my biggest cheerleader. And that's one of the reasons why my mom doesn't completely understand why we are where we are, because she's like, who cares if he doesn't show up for you emotionally? Right? Who cares if you never get to see that emotional side of him? He shows up for you in every other way. And I explained to her, that's not enough though. That's not enough for me to spend the rest of my life with someone and know that we have to go through all of these other emotional journeys. Our kids finishing high school, our kids starting relationships, getting married, having families of their own. I want someone who is deeply emotionally connected to me to experience those things with. I do not want to look into your eyes and see that you're distant, that you're not even a part of this thing that you told me you wanted to create. I want you in it with me. And it's not enough that you do everything else. I'm sorry, it's just not, especially not when I'm showing up for you in all of these ways. I don't care if you have all the money in the world. I don't care if you provide her with all the support she needs. If you stifle her ability to show you that support back, relationships are give and take in all regards. And so if you're supporting her, but you're limiting her ability to support you, and when she gives you feedback saying, babe, I think you could do this. I know you could do this. It's a hard place to be. And it's painful because it's a unique situation in which I haven't done anything to betray him. He hasn't done anything to betray me. It's almost as if the relationship has run its course simply because one of the partners isn't willing to do the work. One of the partners is stuck in the gap. And sure, I could stick it out. I could listen to my mom and say, you're right. He shows up for me in every other way. So it's okay if I don't have this one thing. The problem for me with that, though, is that I have created a little mini me now. I have created a daughter who is strong and beautiful. She's confident. She's brave. And she, unfortunately, or fortunately, is a romantic like her mom. I always refer to myself as a realistic romantic. I am a Disney girl down to the ground. I love a good romance story. I love when the man swoops in and saves her. I love it. Sue me. I love it. But the men in my movies and my books looked very differently from the men in real life. And so that made me what I call a romantic realist. I would love to have the romantic forever after. I've just seen enough to know that that's not true. But my daughter, she watches me watch all of my favorite romance movies, and she digs in with a blanket and popcorn right next to me and says, Mom, you just love these. You just love these so much. I can see it in your eyes. You love it. And then I watch her eyes light up as she's watching it next to me. And the reality is, you can't have a truly romantic, connected, emotionally invested relationship with somebody who sees patterns that are hurting your relationship and won't fix them. And I don't want to set the example for her that that is normal, that that is something that she should accept. She's watching me.